to
I look better.
infinity and beyond.
All right. Live on Lawyer Talk, just finished up with the Blitz. So those who didn't catch that, every Wednesday we tune in with Loper and Randy right here in Columbus, Ohio, 99.7 The Blitz. If you are not listening in Columbus, Ohio, of course, you can tune into them online as well. But you can also just show up here and we give a nice little recap of what we did. And what do? We take legal questions and we answer them. Sometimes they're not so legal. Today was sort of a not so legal day, at least it was one of those, but it was interesting.
I mean, the one guy there, he's like, I'm worried about my girlfriend, because the car got broken into and there's no insurance, but she's not driving it. And then, on that there, it's, I remember once I did get the letter that you're talking about. Okay. And I got the letter from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and they're like, wait, no, it said, we can't find insurance on this car. And it was parked. It was, I wasn't using it. I didn't have insurance on it. And they were still saying that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unless it's junked. But
I think there is, I think there are exceptions to that. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure there are. Because I went through a car restoration that I think I had minimal coverage on it for one reason or another, but I didn't keep it. I don't even know if I didn't have liability. I don't think I had some other kind of, I wasn't driving it.
There's like a storage insurance.
Yeah,
there's a parked insurance and it doesn't cost you much.
It's hardly anything. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what that, what the parameters are, but I guess to recap what the question was, we had this guy who I couldn't quite understand why he thought his girlfriend was in trouble.
I think he just thought he did something he shouldn't have, don't you?
Yeah, he was like, well, the car got, evidently it's parking lot, side of the road, something. Somebody broke into it. He filed a report. So it's not like you were driving it.
Yeah. So
and he filed the report. So, and you got to remember, it was a theft report. It was nothing to do with auto. It was auto theft. I mean, they didn't steal the car. They stole something out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just like filing a report that somebody stole something out of your mailbox or somebody stole, your gnomes. You got your gnomes out front, right?
Yeah.
And somebody stole them.
Yeah. So
they're not going to be like, do you have house insurance?
No, they won't. They won't.
That's not going to go down.
But it's worthy of talking. I mean, maybe it's worthy of saying this, is that anybody who's driving a car in Ohio and gets pulled over, they're going to ask you, did you have insurance? Please provide proof of insurance. So anybody who's got a traffic ticket, here's what you look for. If you scroll down with your eyes somewhere about 2/3 down, or no, forgive me, it's somewhere about 1/3 down, there's a bunch of boxes. And one of them will say FR shown. And there'll be a checkbox next to it. FR means financial responsibility, and it is established by the Financial Responsibility Act, which says you got to have insurance if you're driving. And they're talking about minimal liability coverage. And if you don't have that, or if you can't prove it, when you go to court, they're going to ask you. And what they're going to do is they're going to ask you for proof of insurance at the time you were driving. Now, let's just play it out one way or another. Say, well, Judge, I didn't have it at the time, but I have it here in my pocket. And literally, this happens. Judge will say, all right, well, come on up here and let me take a peek at it. And the judge looks at it and verifies, hey, look, you looks like you had insurance on the day of the offense. I will, we'll make note of that and we'll tell the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Another option, Judge, I don't have it with me, but I promise I have insurance. We know what that means. Could mean that you just don't have it with you. It could mean that maybe you're fibbing, thinking you can just sort of talk your way out of it. Well, what the judge is going to do is going to say, all right, no big deal. You're not in trouble. You're going to think, oh, good. I'm not in trouble. I didn't have to prove it. But I'll just tell the Bureau you don't have insurance, and they're going to send you a piece of paper in the mail that says you have 30 days to provide us proof that that vehicle is insured. And if you don't, you're going to get a license suspension. And then sure enough, a letter comes along in the mail and you've got to actually send it off to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And if you send off insurance that's not valid, if you send off insurance that's expired, sometimes even fake, you're going to get caught and they're going to suspend your license. I've had plenty of cases where I call them the Bureau of Motor Vehicles police. They have they come down and they go to court and they're waiting in the back because somebody had a false insurance paper. They got on their Apple MacBook Pro and typed up a little dummy insurance thing and modified it, and they got caught. And it's not hard. I mean, you can just scan in a card and change the dates, and you're rocking and rolling. And I'm sure a lot of people get away with it, but not everybody. And I've represented people who have not. And I will tell you what, those are not the police that you want to upset. They take that job seriously. And they come and they want their convictions and they do it. And then, we get all the time, somebody just didn't pay their insurance. Like, come on, it just expired yesterday. Doesn't that count? Will my insurance company? Nope. They won't do it. So then what happens? Well, you get a license suspension. In the old days, you were just SOL. There was no driving privileges permitted on that license suspension. Now there are. You can get a 90-day license suspension. I think there's a way at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles you can get driving privileges. So you go and you tell them, look, I got to work. Give me privileges. Let me drive. Do something, and then you're good to go. But yeah, keep insurance. Be able to prove it, and they'll actually check it. They'll check it. I've never had a random check. I don't think on one of my cars though.
I have.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah, I guess I haven't recently. So
yeah,
a while since I've been pulled over, though. Thank God.
yeah.
I know. I just want to go to New Albany right now and say I like to pay for my speeding ticket, and they'll be like, "Where's your ticket?" or "What?" And I'm gonna be like, "I haven't got it yet."
I just pay in advance.
I just, you know, what I mean,
You ever see the movie?
I mean,
Pay
you
It
guys,
Forward?
they changed the speed limit. They did this thing, you know what I mean, on 62.
That's
Now you got to
awesome.
remember, I've been driving this same route for 16 years, and in those years, there used to not be gas stations or hotels or traffic lights. It was country road, and now they went down to 45.
There weren't any warnings that the speed limit was changing, or now
they got a
no
sign- they got a-
posting?
they got one sign
Not that
that
you pay
says-
attention to
No,
it.
they got-
I'm the same way.
No, I noticed. I knew it.
Okay.
I caught it right away.
Oh, okay.
But here's the deal: nobody's slowing down. The flow of traffic is still rolling right on along.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you get to this one area where maybe you're at the light and you want to get to the right, but you're in the left lane because there's a whole bunch of line here. And if you got a good car, you can just hit it and accelerate, and you get a pass, and you get on the freeway. And I looked down. I was like, "Yep, man, 55. Yep, 55." I'm always at that 10. I'm hitting that 10 there. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm admitting to it there, but
This
it's
is
not
Jared
just-
Blinsky from Lawyer Talk.
yes.
He speeds into what now? It's
It's our confession segment of Lawyer
yeah.
Talk.
right.
So we'll get off of me there. I did have one advice. We had a caller that called in there, wanted to know if he could somehow get his parking spot because they park on the streets.
Mhm.
And he said his neighbor has 7 cars.
7 cars.
Now, here's the deal. If those cars haven't been moved, you can file a complaint there because if you're not allowed to park a car, or if they're
If they're abandoned, right?
or if they're
disabled,
or yes, they're disabled, or he needs to go around and see if they have expired tags.
Yeah.
If he's got one that has an expired tag on it, then you can you got a little bit of something to work with.
So let's just give everybody a good lesson in neighborly relations. Look at all your neighbors' cars and call the tow truck and have them towed. You're going to make friends fast.
Yes.
I mean, it's just the way, it's like having a picnic in the neighborhood for 4th of July. You're going to make friends fast, and you're going to really, really establish a good friendship if you start having your neighbors' cars towed.
But I mean, if they do have a slew of cars and they're not being used, and you get debris and stuff, the leaves that blow in between there, it's a mess.
It's ugly.
You know,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to see how that works
Yeah.
out for the guy.
I'm with him. I mean, it's
There's not much to do, but I was just thinking of the few things he could do.
You might be right.
Is walk
Right.
around and see if because now if he goes around, it's like they've all got updated tags,
yeah.
and it's like if they actually drive them,
Yeah,
well,
maybe
I
it's
guess-
the Brady Bunch, man.
yeah, player. You don't know how many people are living in that house. Maybe there are
Yep.
7 drivers,
Mhm.
and giddy up, Buttercup, find your
Now-
spot.
And it could be, you could look at the size of the width of the street too. If it's not designed for parking, but you get, like township roads, kind
Yep.
of
Yep.
that feel.
Yep.
You'd think you could at least give, the cops a heads up going, they're
Look,
kind of in the
man,
way,
this is- yeah.
emergency vehicle.
Of course, and then what's going to happen is they're going to be in the way. They're going to be told not to, and then you're going to replace them. So now you've got the same problem. You're going to
Yeah.
end up doing the same thing. So look, I can't implore you enough. Just go knock on your neighbor's door and say, dude,
Can I
just
have one? Can I have one of those?
Can't you
spots?
spare a square?
Yes.
Remember the old Seinfeld?
Right.
But yeah, now this is a true story. I had a buddy of mine living with me in law school, or right after law school, and we would go, I think it was like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every evening for bar exam review course up at Ohio State in one of their classrooms. And it was, I think the statute of limitations for street racing is probably over, but we literally would hot rod as fast as we could back downtown to German Village to get that prime spot in front of the house, because otherwise it's a headache. Otherwise you're doing a lap around the block. You're trying to figure out where to park. I mean, there were times like he would take 3rd Street or 4th Street. Is 3rd or 4th go north? I can't remember. One of those.
4th goes north.
4th goes north. There you go. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's the only way I
he'd
can
take
remember.
3rd in reverse.
Yeah, he would go backwards in reverse, Burt Reynolds style, like in Hooper. But no, it's we would hot rod it, different routes home, trying to get home, or he would see me and I'd look at him. It's like that little moment, and you punch it and roll at the stoplight to try to beat him. But all because of parking. All because of parking.
Wow.
All right, we got to talk about old Airbnb Joe. I mean, I don't know what that was about. Have you ever Airbnb'd anywhere?
We did in Nashville. It was all right. It was nice. I mean, it was in comparison of pricing, from a hotel in Nashville. We stayed down there for a week.
Yeah.
It was nice. I mean, it did what it needed to do. It was upstairs. It was actually Travis Tritt's old recording studio that had been converted. But when you hear that, it sounds like fancy.
Could be cool.
But you got to realize that Nashville studios a lot of them used to be houses, a lot of the old ones. So it was kind of a house that he happened to record in maybe once or something, what I mean?
It doesn't take much to get that moniker. Right?
Yeah.
It's like
and
you think,
and now we're staying above a nail salon. There's a nail salon underneath it, but it wasn't bad. It was nice. We each had a room. It was a big room,
get a little mani-pedi while you're.
And when we were there, it had a nice patio though. It did, and we were amongst all the studios, big ones that have been buildings that have been built. And I sat out there, and the porch was. It had a nice little covered patio, and I would sit out there and I'd look at all the studios that were going on.
Yeah.
So it was like I say. And it was, I can't remember what we paid, but it was like per couple, it was like $350 for a week.
See, that's
Good deal.
and that's a good deal. Yeah.
And in Nashville, and then what we did, we would just get on the little scooters, the limes, and
Yeah.
and then just run around because we were right there on what is it called? I think it's called Studio Row.
What
Studio Row
article
is the name.
What article did I read? I gotta look that up. We need to see. We don't have the Exchequer today,
Mhm.
Yeah, we need to get them on
but
it.
there was something that Airbnb did, like limiting. It was some sort of woke action they took. I think that you couldn't.
Yeah, they've done the COVID flipped Airbnb whenever it was just raging on, and then it stopped. And there were people. There's places too like that do not like the Airbnbs. There's I forget what ward it is in New Orleans. People are going down there, and yes, it looks nice because they're buying these old houses and they're redoing them, but they're renting them out,
Flipping them as Airbnb.
Airbnbs. And so there's people that live there, and they're like, "This is no longer a neighborhood; it's a huge
Hotel district
hotel."
almost.
Yes,
Pretty much.
to where you've got people coming and going and in and out, and and you're partying in New Orleans, and some of the neighbors are like, these neighbors are partying every day because it's a different group of people every week.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in New Orleans, very community oriented
Yes.
city, that they like their pockets. I mean,
Yes.
which is great. That's part of the draw of living there,
Yes.
is that, in which the flood kind of ruined, because
Yes.
everybody escaped, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
where's our community now?
Yes, and it's being replaced by Airbnbs.
And there are people, like, remember when this happened, like a lot of people, and it makes sense. And I guess I just never put any thought to it, that like real estate investors were not buying houses to flip. They're buying houses for Airbnb purposes. They're becoming their own little hotel chains. And I think they got really crushed.
Well, you see, here's the other thing. Like usually whenever you go into a hotel, on the back of the door, you will see a list there that shows, what the room cost, what the tax, because you'll go in there and it's like $200 a night. And then you'll realize that you're like this, holy cow, the room tax. In some cities, room tax is a huge number.
Yeah.
Like I've seen where you're paying more in tax than you are for the room.
Wow.
And usually it's on the back of the door. There's a listing there. And I've seen it before where I'm paying $100 a night. I think that was, might have been Chicago. And I think in Nashville too, I think it was like $50, $75. I know Brent. So now there's all these hotel people that have to pay this room tax.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Airbnb, guess what? No room tax. So yes, they are able to, it's like, well, it's just so much cheaper. Well, of course it's cheaper. They paying the tax that the hotel people have to pay.
Right.
So now hotel people are like this. Well, this is BS. Yes, they can charge less because you need to make them pay the tax, or you need to lower our tax.
Right.
And the government's like, well, we can't lower your tax. And Airbnb's like, well, you can't tax us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're broken down into whatever laws, somebody's looking through this.
This is like we were talking about this last night on the telephone. This is like whenever the government gets involved, you end up with this. It's like you can say we're going to tax hotels because they're making so much money, and we're going to do all that. And then the people who might have otherwise invested in hotels or might have otherwise built more hotels, what do? They just shift gears a little bit. We're going to go start Airbnb in it. It might not even be the same people, but now all of a sudden there's a market for Airbnb because hotels cost too much. And it's not that everybody thinks, well, if we tax it, they'll pay more. No, they just won't either use it or they'll go somewhere else where they're not having to pay the tax. Like cost will drive people out sooner or later. Always does.
I had a friend who has one in Belize.
Belize.
I think it's Belize. I'm pretty sure. But anyhow, they're still not letting Americans into the country.
Wow.
So since COVID has hit, nobody's staying at his Airbnb.
Well, and I know we were talking during the shutdown, man, people got crushed. Those investors, Airbnb, I hope they're doing all right. I was going to look up the woke action they took, but there was some action they took recently that was designed to, I don't know, it was fitting the narrative these days. But anyway, the guy called about Airbnb. I've heard a lot of people renting stuff around, but I've never been in one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It scares me a little bit. I don't like, I like going to a hotel. I just sort of like
I
like the sanctity.
I like the hotel too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
if I had extra properties, I would think about Airbnbs. If you don't literally live in that home,
yeah,
and you could Airbnb it out.
Well,
maybe.
then again,
maybe.
I mean, here's I guess let me back it up. Next week, I'm going on to Fort Lauderdale, and we got an Airbnb
with comedians.
Yeah, with the comedians on South High. We're all going down there. Well, Bobby can't make it. Bobby and his wife, but Jason Banks, his wife, Kenny, me, Shorty, we're going down there.
That's a perfect scenario for an Airbnb.
But it's got a hot tub, it's got a swimming pool, it's a 5-minute walk from the beach. It's got it's 4-bedroom, 3 full baths. And for the week, I'm trying to remember what it was. I mean, the whole trip, planes, trains, and automobiles, I think it was like $2,500 a couple.
See, that's hardly anything. And
for a week. And that's our airfare.
Yeah.
That's all in there.
And you're right, Brett. That is the scenario where Airbnb makes a lot of sense.
And it's got a big, we looked at the pictures anyhow. We get there, it's like, oh no, but we'll see.
There was a movie. Gosh, what's that movie?
Yeah, well,
John Candy was in it, maybe, or I don't remember who's. Anyway, there's a movie where they get to
Summer Rental.
It might be. Was it Summer? It might be Summer.
I think it was Summer Rental with John Candy.
And he's like, I think if he took a picture from up there, it looks like
yeah. So, but it's nice because we just want to go hang out and do nothing. And you got the kitchen, you can cook some meals, you can go out to dinner there. But now car rentals, and this is something just so crazy that's odd, was we did find something through Costco, but my brother-in-law's, I don't know, I guess my whatever, my brother-in-law's brother-in-law.
Yeah,
that's not me.
Okay.
Anyhow, he's flying in. He was he flew in from up in Detroit or something. He had to come down, and they wanted for him to rent a car from Detroit to Columbus because without a return. You know how much how much they said? I didn't even believe it. I was like, that's a lie.
How much?
Take a guess.
$1,000?
$4,000.
Holy mackerel!
I was like, no, that's not true.
There are just no cars. We had this.
Wow.
I was like, he should just go to U-Haul.
That's what I heard. The alternative is people are renting U-Hauls.
Yeah,
and people
just
like
Uber it.
And like in Daytona and in Florida, I heard, and then there's like Hawaii said that they want to make it to where if you're not a resident, you're not allowed to rent a U-Haul because there's no rentals out there. So. And right now, you got to remember, right before COVID hit there, boy, they missed the boat on that because right now, used car market is
insane.
Yeah, it's insane. And was a budget that was going out had to blow out a bunch of their cars.
Well, and I think we went to Colorado recently and we rented a car and I got to the rental car lot and it was like maybe a handful of cars. You know how you used to go in a rental car like there's just hundreds.
Walk around, yeah.
Yeah, and there was like a handful of cars. And the one we got was maybe as big as this table. I mean, it was like one of those little, it was like a Volt. What the heck? It sounded like it was electric, but it wasn't.
Volt, yeah.
Right. I was like, why even call it a Volt? It's not electric. It was this tiny little. It felt like I was in a go-kart.
Yeah, that's GMC.
It's a wannabe.
It,
I
yeah,
want to be electric,
it
but
felt like a go-kart. And although it's sort of fun in the hills coming down in Colorado and like in the Front Range, we're just, it was fun. But on the other hand, there were no cars. And I got to thinking, is it because of all the used car shortages? Like the rental car people were just sort of sold them off during the pandemic. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. They sold them off and made some money.
Yeah, they're like, we were struggling because nobody was renting cars because nobody's going anywhere.
So we just sold the inventory.
So we sold the inventory because you got to, or we go out of business and then everything gets sold.
Because what happens is, and people don't get this, like rental cars, they don't just buy all those cars. They get what's called a purchase money security interest. So if somebody has a rental, you get a car, you're a rental company, and you get a car from whoever, you still owe on that. They take a security interest in your inventory and you use it. I presume this is how it happens. And it probably is a deal where you just sort of swap them out, you sell them, and you pay off the note, and then you go. And you're still going to owe. I mean, they still owed on those notes.
Yes.
Right.
And usually you're renting them out to make the payments.
Yeah.
Now you're like, well, nobody's renting the cars. We got all these payments coming in. So you got to thin the herd.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, we got to make this month's bill, sell 3 cars.
Tells me
next month, we sell some more cars.
Tells me if I'm living in Florida, I'm going to start renting out my car. I saw some people doing that on.
I would never do that.
No, I wouldn't either.
I would never rent out one of my cars to somebody.
Well, I guess if you had a Volt and it was only for that.
Well, okay. Correction.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
You got 7 cars sitting on the street.
you
You probably want to rent a couple of those out.
Rent them out.
Because then your neighbor has a spot to pop in. that solves that problem.
You see, I can't
completely.
say anything because I have owned 7 cars at one time before. But now then again,
there's a
where
regulation.
I live, I'm allowed. Well, to a point.
Yeah.
That got weird out in Johnstown too, to where they had a whole problem, people storing too many cars outside.
Yeah, it gets ugly.
And they wanted to fence up.
ugly.
They said, you've got junkyards. Like, no, I don't have a junkyard. They're like, you do. And it's just,
By
it
our
became a
bylaws,
mess.
you have a junkyard.
Because usually when somebody has 7 or 8 cars, they're not all Ferraris.
No.
usually they're like,
if they
I'm gonna
are,
get
they're
to
in
that.
a garage.
I'm going to get to that one of these days.
Right.
And it's an old truck.
I've got 4 projects.
Yeah. Or why get rid of that? It's got good parts on it. I'm going to sell it off one of these days. And it just doesn't happen.
And the other 3, well, they work sometimes.
Or you got a truck bed in your backyard. I mean,
I have one working vehicle from 4 pieces here.
Mhm.
I just interchange them all the time.
What's the old, there's an old Johnny Cash song.
Oh, yeah.
He used to work at a car car
You got
manufacturer.
one part at a time as it
One
came
part.
on down the line.
Mhm.
He builds a whole car over 30 years of work.
55, 65, 75, 85. You know what I mean? It was, that whole,
That's
Yeah.
that song.
Yeah.
If we had the Exchequer, he played for us.
All right.
Yep.
We're taking questions through YouTube chat, right?
Yeah, we're
For
taking questions.
This is
So,
basically for future people listening.
we are taking questions. So there is a YouTube chat, Channel 511. Here we are live on Channel 511. We didn't really introduce any of this, but this is Lawyer Talk Live on Channel 511 if you want to check it out, YouTube. And you too can take or send us questions on the chat. You can send us an email. There's a form at lawyertalkpodcast.com. But use the chat if you want to get some questions answered. We had a couple questions last week, and they are starting to come more and more frequently. So anyway, check it out. But if you want to learn about like rental cars,
4th of July weekend's coming up.
we've talked about nothing so far. So
Yeah, but let's go into the 4th of July weekend.
what you got going on?
Well, we got the comedians on South High going to be there at the Columbus Funny Bone, not on the 4th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's one show, the late show on Thursday, still has tickets. That was an added show. The rest are sold out. So you can still come and get the tickets.
If you want to go, you better go late on Thursday, but otherwise you're too late.
Yep.
Yep.
Are they capacity at Funny Bone now? Or are they still?
To be honest with you, I do not know what their capacity level is. I know that at one point in time, the show had sold out. Then they didn't add days. And then he was like, they was sold out and they're not sold out. Jason's like, how not? They're like, well, we expanded out. And
we don't want to pay you the extra.
We added more seats. And then once those sold out, they're like, well, then let's add another day. Let's add another show. And they added more shows. Now, when we were at the Improv in Tempe, Arizona, they're like this, boom, we're back in business.
Really?
To where they're setting people. Funny Bone here, you can still only buy a 2-top or a 4-top. Okay. Like if you've ever been to a comedy club before and you buy 2 tickets, you might sit within inches of another couple because they pack you into the seats. There now they only so it is thinned out. So I don't know what the number is. I don't know if they opened up the balcony, but I'm going to estimate that we're talking 350 to 400 would be my guess. They were full 500 seats in AZ, and we sold out all of those. There was 500 people there. I don't know if Columbus is doing that. And then sometimes you get some issues that were, some people are like, I'm going out, but I haven't gone out, and I'm still a little worried. I want to take my old lady out. Let's get a 4-top, and just we'll sit there.
Yeah, because comedy clubs are notorious for, you just share and everybody.
Yes.
That's what makes them fun.
That was the whole thing, was packing them in and getting them down there. So now it's like, we want more room. So we paid for all 4 tickets, but it happened. That happened. We noticed that in Toledo. We were up there, and I was like, why is it sold out, but there's empty seats? And then we'd find out that, it'd go through on there.
Probably some of that even before the shutdown. I would think people just wanted the table to themselves, but for the most part.
No, they used to not do that.
Oh, they wouldn't let people do
Yeah,
that.
because now it's only 2 or 4 tops.
Gotcha.
If you bought 2 tickets,
You're getting a
you're going to be, you could be at a 4-top.
Yeah.
You could be at a 6-top.
Oh, I get you.
Okay, because let's say 3 couples bought 2, and they got a 6-top that 6-top didn't. Nobody bought 6 in one batch, so they'll go 2, 2, 2, down to 8. If you just came in 2, but now they're like this. You're sitting with who you came with, is kind of where Columbus is still at.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, I'm happy that there's just stuff going
They're
on.
open.
Yeah. And
Right.
particularly comedy, because as we have said, I think comedy is the breakthrough. That is the constant, no matter what the crap going on in the world, politically or otherwise. We need the comedians to sort of break through and just be real.
And Jason Banks has, if you don't know him, check him out. Become one of his close to 5 million followers on TikTok. Jason Banks Comedy on Instagram.
And he is funny.
Comedian Kenny and Bobby Dodds Comedy as well. Bobby Dodds, who's on Comedians on South High, will be hosting all 6 shows, and Kenny will be the opener, and then Banks will come in and close it. And we were talking before the show, just kind of how, our bubbles and the people that we hung out with in 2020 were smaller,
Yeah.
And then Jason created these characters, which he's got a huge fan following, and they are invested to where they weren't hanging out with people, but they believed in. I mean, they believe in the characters that he has come up with as they're real.
Yeah.
And they come through, and where influencers before, what are you going to do? You see this guy surfing or whatever he does. You can't go to his job and hang out with him. But Banks, now they've been hanging out with him for a year, 2020, and people come to him. They're like, you helped me get through this. It was like you were talking to me. You were going, they really feel this. And then he's like, well, come see me at work.
Yeah.
I happen to work at places that seat up to 500 people. So if you guys like to come hang out for a while, you can go ahead and do that. So this gives these huge, Banks has an advantage of an influencer as to where he can invite them to come see him.
All right.
And a lot of people have never been to stand-up shows before. And but it's interesting. I think this Columbus show is going to be a great show. And then if you go to Jason Banks' website, Jason Banks Comedy, you can see the whole listing of shows, which it started out, we added Boston. That's not even put on the website there, but we got Boston on there now. 76 shows in 6 months.
Wow.
Remember, there was a time you were talking about that. It almost seemed impossible. You're going to do 30 shows in 30
And we
days.
did. He did. We were like, what if we were trying to come up with something, come out of COVID. I was like, let's do 30 shows in 30 days. Like, do you think we can book them? We can get them out. And then we were even making things up. Like, a show could be us just showing up at a karaoke, right?
Sure.
Get it up there. And I was like, we could do it in a parking lot. We could do it here. And then whenever this first kicked off, the first run, I looked at it. Now, it didn't fall into the same month, but it was 30 shows in 30 days. Because like when we go to Cleveland for 3 days, he did 7 shows in 3 days.
Yeah, so that counts, right? I mean,
Sure
it doesn't mean
does.
30 consecutive days. Like,
Yes.
if 30 shows in 30 days, you're allowed to
Yes.
have a day of rest.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to tell you, what's happening to him, we were talking about this. It's like it's the shutdown and all this craziness has sort of created these new niches of stuff, and he's one of them. Like, he was a professional stand-up comedian, had to resort to doing some social media, TikTok influencer stuff because he was an awesome comedian anyway. He's funny, and it's like he's a professional going into that as opposed to an amateur creating social media influencer stuff. He's a pro doing it only to bridge the gap and do something during the shutdown. And now he's combined both on the stage. Like he's even talking about his social media and his TikTok, and he's packing houses.
Yeah.
It's like he's packing houses. It's like it blows me away. Blows me away.
I think COVID's kind of forced people's hands in regards to, I have to do this. There's no alternative. He's one of those. He
Yeah.
had to do this. I think if nothing else, it proved that we have the intestinal fortitude. It's just like, I'm backed in a corner. I got to do this.
Yeah.
I have to do no other alternative, which I think is great.
Yeah. I mean, people survive, right? So it's like, this is when like people would say, or you're not allowed to do this, or you can't do this, you can't do this. Well, people are just going to sort of shift sideways and do other things, and you can't contain it. It's like, we've talked about like in Jurassic Park, what's his name? Jeff Goldblum. He goes, you're going to try to contain these dinosaurs? You're never going to do it. They're going to just reproduce anyway. And that's sort of what happens. Like people just end up doing stuff. It just shows up in a different place, and he's done it.
Right.
I mean, and now he's taking it live, and you can check it out. And I think I think we both are, all three of us are sort of, I don't know, we feel like it's home. Like it was like we feels like we're part of it because it happened when he was here. Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And not to say he wouldn't have done it. But,
Yeah,
you know.
Exactly. But it's neat to be part of.
Yeah, we watched it happen.
We watched it happen.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
watched it, and I
It's
watched
such
it
fun.
happen. Even whenever we didn't meet in the studio during COVID, we were Zooming, and we tried to record that as a podcast, but didn't kind of work out. But we all stayed in touch.
Yep.
And we all talked there, and then we started coming back to the studio before things were open back up.
Yeah, we
And
bent the rules.
yeah, we bent the rules. Come find us, and I'll give you a tour.
Doors are locked.
So,
It's a bunker.
but to watch those guys write jokes and put it together and go through, but Banks does on average like 3 bits a day.
That's and I don't think you can understate the amount of work that goes into that. I mean, it's like it's taxing. I've actually talked to Jason about this, where people just say all you have to do is keep doing it, and then every day you got to wake up and keep doing it. You've got to wake up and come up with it again. You've got to do it again and do it again and do it again. These creative writers, these creative brains, these people who do this stuff, don't think it comes easy for them. I mean, they're like, oh, they're gifted, they can do it. All right, well, maybe to an extent, but then it takes good old fashioned discipline and work.
Yeah.
As we were talking about Gene Simmons like this the last night on the telephone.
Yeah.
It's like I watched his interview one day, and he was like, look, this is a damn job. You can take all this artistic, whatever you want, but we're here to write and produce and release music because this is our job. This is how we make money. This is a business. And the true artist or whatever might scoff at that. But he looked at it like, look, I'm creative and I've got discipline and I'm going to work, equals success every time.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah, there was an interview with Neil Peart, the drummer from Rush, who passed away last year of brain cancer. But his mom commented on some videos she watched of him that he always has this very serious look, like he's not really having fun. And he says, "Mom, I'm working.
It's work. Yeah,
it's work, but I'm having fun. I guarantee, because I love what I do. But this is serious stuff. This is work for me for 3 hours.
It's your job.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
And we learned in Cleveland, which now I'm working with him and helping him out on his merchandise, because he's created these characters and he's got cartoon shirts, and we've got this. And whenever over 150 people after each show line up to take a picture or get an autograph, buy a shirt and have them sign the shirt, it was overwhelming, because sometimes he'll take the last photo, or some people won't get photos because it's taken so long for that line to go through after the first show. The second show's filled.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm still taking pictures and the host is talking to the new people.
Man.
Run in there and do it. And then after the show, we get out and usually stay in a hotel or something. And they're usually, or, the Funny Bones and stuff, sometimes they're in malls, or, there's usually like the Easton kind of area out here, outdoor malls, and everybody wants to buy them drinks. Everybody wants them to come in, sit down and party with them.
Just like that, man.
And it's
He's
like,
famous.
but it's like this too. It's like, I've got to do this again tomorrow and I'm worn out. It's like, I can't party with you guys. Like you said, I'm at work.
I can only relate as an attorney. It's like old Abe Lincoln said, a lawyer's time is a stock and trade. And I sort of feel like this all the people are like, well, can't you just talk to me about X problem? It'll only take you like 20 minutes, but it's work. I mean, it's work. It's exhausting. It's tiring. And he's doing that every single night. Like physically, you think, well, how hard could it be to stand up there and come up with this and do this? It's freaking work, man.
Go try it yourself.
It's
Go
exhausting.
try it yourself.
And I can only imagine. I mean, I've had to stand up in front of people in like not even a jury trial, but just a like an education or teach a class or do something in front of a group. And it's work. You get done, you're like, "Ugh," you're exhausted. And even if I knew what I was going to say, even if I've said the same thing over and over before, it's still exhausting. And that's easy compared to what he's doing. I mean, compared to what he's going through, that's easy. So hats off, man. He's doing awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
You were talking about questions and people were chatting. We don't have any yet here, and maybe we won't. But after the last show, I did get a question. Somebody reached out, called me upstairs, and had a question. I wanted to address it. I'm not going to use any names, but it was an interesting one. So I happen to like firearms. I understand that some people don't, but I am an advocate of the Second Amendment. And beyond that, this question was more in line with those who have their license to carry a concealed handgun. And anybody who has done that, anybody who has actually gone through that class, they were probably told at the end, look, it's a good idea to have an attorney that you know that you can call who can give you some advice in the event, unfortunate event, that you need to use your handgun in defense of yourself or somebody else. So what they're really saying is, look, if you kill somebody in defense of yourself or somebody else, you got yourself a
Lawyer
tiger
up.
by the tail, right?
Yeah.
Get a lawyer. And not only that, get a lawyer now, like talk now. And so you have somebody in the Rolodex, in your phone contact list that you can just hit send. And this individual listens to the podcast and called me with questions like that. And I thought it'd be interesting just sort of go through what I told him, because it wasn't necessarily the same as advice he had gotten from other experts. So here's the question. I mean, here's what it comes down to. What do? I just shot somebody, and what do I do? How am I going to handle that? And every lawyer worth of salt would say, shut the hell up. Don't say a word. Now, the natural response I always get is, yeah, but if I do that, they're going to think I'm guilty. And my response is always, they already do. They already think you're guilty. This isn't going to change that. And even if they don't think you're guilty, it doesn't mean that what you're about to say is going to make you look guilty. It always will. It can and will be used against you. But then you shift over, but I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy. I've got my license to carry this gun. I was defending myself, or I was defending this guy over there who couldn't defend himself. I'm a good guy. I can talk. And, it's a little bit different scenario. It's not like you're being accused of a murder after a robbery or something. It's not like, you don't feel like you're a criminal. You feel like you did right. And why wouldn't you want to go just share what you did? And remember, we had Mike Hughes. He was a county prosecutor in here, and we talked a little bit about this a couple of years ago. But the reality is, not even police officers will give a statement to the police or to the authorities after a police shooting. The Fraternal Order of Police and the general practices, they wait a couple of days. I don't 72 hours, 48 hours, whatever it is. And the idea is you're just under a stressful adrenaline rush, and it's really difficult to sort your thoughts and get it right in that moment. And the guy I was talking to agreed. He just said, yeah, all that makes sense. Don't talk, we'll call you first and then deal with it. And I sort of, again, had to give him some version of the lecture I just gave. But then he said, yeah, another expert says, don't talk, except maybe be ready to point out like all the things, the evidentiary things, or the scene, the stuff that helps your cause. And I paused for a second and I thought, I couldn't disagree more. And he's like, well, why wouldn't I want to do that? And I said, that's talking to the police, right? That is what that is the statement. Like, who goes into that and says, I'm going to go tell them the stuff that's bad for me. Inevitably, if you're going to talk, you're going to give the stuff and provide the information that's good for me or good for you. So to say that you should only provide the information that's good for you or point out things that are good for you is really a circular problem. You're doing the same thing. You're forcing somebody in the moment to decide what is good, what is bad, point it out, not point it out. And anything you don't point out, then, well, what didn't he tell you? He only told you this, this, and this, and this. Did he tell you anything else? Well, no, he didn't. Well, he didn't tell you about this problem over here, or this situation over there, or that over there. And it immediately, when you start thinking it from that perspective, it makes sense. Shut up. If you say nothing, here's how it goes down. They're not allowed to go into a courtroom later and then accuse you of not talking and hold that against you. They can't do it. Won't ever come up. If you say some things, but not all things, you're going to get impeached for covering up, for hiding, or for keeping some stuff secret from the police or trying to shift the investigation in some way or another. And then generally speaking, how do you know what's going to be good for you at the time? You don't. You don't. You only know what you have perceived in the moment of a situation that you thought your life was in danger. And think about how well that's going to go for you, right? It's like, what are you really perceiving in that moment of tunnel vision? So at the end of the day, I just disagreed with the national expert for those reasons. And it was a good conversation. At the end, the gentleman, again, avid, one of the millions of Lawyer Talk listeners, I suppose, but he listened to us and liked what we had to say here, and it was a good question. And so if anybody's got a CCW, he put our information in his phone. I'm there to help him in the event it happens. I don't charge for that kind of advice. Generally speaking, I just sort of I give that as I just think everybody should know that. And at the end of the day, if you are going to have to use your weapon, call me afterwards. Call a lawyer afterwards. Call somebody afterwards, because you're not going to be able to talk your way out of it. Just it ain't going to happen. But anyway, that was the one question we had follow up. The other question I wanted to talk about on the Blitz. Old judge, local judge here.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up earlier. Wow,
man, I'm trying to think. So I saw that in the paper.
Well, yeah, I saw that too. I think you sent it over first, or I'd seen it before. You sent the article over, and I think what I said to you is like, isn't that the same as a judge thinking, you look like an unfit mother. You're gonna have to have an abortion. You're pregnant. You're on probation. Can't be pregnant on probation.
Yeah.
Do you think that would fly?
It's,
this opens the door for that,
right?
In my response, you had a good question, because my response to that was, so many people think that you can freeze the power that you give to the government only to what you want them to do. But you have to separate the power to do what they're doing with what they're doing, because the power can be wielded in all sorts of ways. I mean, you open up doors that you can't close. It's sort of like Ghostbusters. Remember, they opened up like this portal to all this evil, and there could be good that comes of it, but it just keeps pouring out. You can't control it. It'll just get used and used and used and used and abused in ways that you don't necessarily like. So you're right. It was such a good point, because it involves my body, my choice, my health care, my right to do this, or this. And then the excuse that the judge gave, or the reasoning he gave, was, well, these people aren't getting the shot for any sort of legitimate reason, in his opinion. It was only because they just didn't get to it. Well, I got to tell you, when you're standing in front of a judge, and I use he because he's a force, and not that women aren't, but there's female judges that are intimidating too. But this is, this judge can be pretty intimidating. And not on purpose, just sort of as one of those guys. He speaks with authority, and he's looking at you and asking you questions, and you're thinking to yourself, I wonder if I'm going to go to jail today.
Yes.
I wonder what I should say.
What does he want to hear?
What does he want to hear?
Is he in a good mood today?
What am I?
Yeah.
And anybody, even I as a lawyer, I have experienced this, where you're getting sort of dressed down, or you feel like you are, and you're worried about the things you're going to say. It's you don't always say what you're thinking and what you feel. You say what comes out, and like, what does he want to hear? What should I say here? Or maybe you haven't thought through exactly your answer to why you didn't get the vaccine. And then if you're asked in that kind of setting, it just dawned on me right now. Like, if you're asked in that setting where the judge has the power, you do not. You're getting asked, did you get that vaccine? So what he's saying is, I agree that everybody ought to be vaccinated. Everybody ought to get that shot. That's my position. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't agree with that at all. I think that I have a right to say no to that question. I object to the vaccine. I'm worried about it. I don't think it's accurate, or I don't think it's healthy. I'm not sure it's been tested. I think, I don't believe in vaccines anyway. And I don't even have a dog. You're thinking to yourself, well, who's going to stand up to a judge in that setting and just say, you're wrong, judge. I think these vaccines are untested. I think they're unsafe. I think that they're still even called tests and experimental, and we don't know yet. So I'm not going to get it until I know more. Like, are you really going to stand up to a judge and say that in the context of a hearing where you could go to prison? Of course not. So what you're going to say, No, I agree with
Yeah,
you,
yes, sir.
Judge. I agree. Okay, I'll go get it. And I just have been lazy about it. And maybe that's not the situation. And I'm sure that as a judge, I've not been one. You don't always realize the power that you have. You don't. I don't think he's intending to intimidate people. I think it just is. And when you're talking to somebody of authority, it's very easy when you're that individual of authority not to perceive that everybody's scared or that they're worried or that they are giving you deference to the exclusion of their own opinion on things. And that's why I think that is a bad practice just generally. Now, is it legal? It's like you waive a lot of rights when you're on probation. You waive a lot of rights. You sign over all sorts of documents that give your probation officer and others access to your medical records, access to your financial records, access. I mean, anybody who's been through it knows it's like a proctologist exam of your life.
They get everything.
They get it all. So you waive a lot of those rights. Now, the issue is whether it is reasonably tied to the goals and aims of probation, whether it's going to be considered cruel and unusual. Like we've determined in our country, things like there's no debtor's prison, or you can't just throw somebody in jail because they're unable to pay as such. So there's things that cross the line on probation. You still have constitutional rights, you still have freedoms, and like my body, my choice. This is one of those things. Our Supreme Court, like it or not, has created a constitutional right that essentially is parroted with that sort of rhetoric. My body, my choice. I have reproductive rights, and that is going to get used in this direction too. Sooner or later, it's going to come up. Like you said, can they just say, "Well, you're not allowed to procreate while you're on probation"?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't agree with that at all. Or you have to get an abortion, or you're not allowed to get an abortion if there is a constitutional right to one. It's like, what is where does it end, and how invasive can it be? And it's so crazy to me that we're in a society where this stuff is starting not only to become unsurprising, but like accepted and encouraged. Like people are like, well, that's a great idea. I think heck yeah, force the judges ought to force everybody to get a vaccine. I'm thinking to myself, well, why? What if it'll kill you? Like,
Yeah, I get even in the same vein of you smoke, you have to stop smoking.
You have to stop smoking
because it hurts you and hurts everybody around you.
Yeah, and
even if it's basic as that, I mean, maybe the other examples might be a bit extreme, but that could be in the same line as the vaccine.
It could be. And alcohol,
you drink or no, you can't drink anymore.
And that happens all the time on probation. You're not allowed to drink alcohol on probation. You're not allowed to use marijuana, even though you have your marijuana license. You're not allowed to go to bars. You're not allowed to associate with other felons.
Oh yeah, no
you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to do. The list goes on and on and on probation, and people just accept that this is okay. And most of the time, they are reasonably related to the goal that's trying to be achieved. Look, if you killed somebody because you got drunk 10 times and on your 11th time you died, or you killed somebody in a car, who's going to say that the judge should let you drink alcohol? Now, it's interesting. There's prosecutors who prosecute those cases here in Franklin County. They say, listen, I don't care if you drink. Go get plastered. I could care less. You're not allowed to drive ever again. Now, it's not going to stop the driving, but, that's I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I haven't talked to him about it, and I probably will at some point, but I don't like it. I like the judge. I mean, I think he's a fair judge. He does a nice job. I just disagree with that. I wouldn't, if I had a client there, I might push back on that one a little bit.
You might have more clients after the 4th of July weekend with Pabst Blue Ribbon's new case.
What does it look like?
The 1776.
Oh, I did see that.
Did you see that?
We need the extra
1,776 cans of Pabst Blue Ribbon loaded in the back of your pickup truck.
That's awesome.
And it's one big case. They did it before. They had a promo out there. It was a 99 beer case. And it was just this long case, and that it was $99. It was $1 a beer. So I'm guessing I don't know what the price.
Yeah.
I don't know what the price of this is going to be. Probably $1,776.
I think you may get a little discount for that.
I don't know. $1 a beer still ain't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it 76 cents.
And you're getting that big case. Come on. I mean, and then I've seen the case.
How big? Does it fit in the back of a pickup truck?
It fits in. Yeah, it does here.
Yeah,
I could show you a picture. I can't show the people at home there, but
we could probably
right here, there it is, right there.
Yeah, it fits. It's like it looks like the size of a.
Oh yeah, there you go. Very
Yeah,
nice.
it
Yeah.
fits.
Yeah,
in there.
I saw a video of them where they loaded it with a forklift. So it comes on a pallet.
Yeah.
So you get a pallet of beer.
Yeah, but you got to get it off your truck too. So
Oh, I'm
got
sure these boys
Hey,
will
Bobby.
figure it out.
Bobby, I need your help putting up a shelf or something. Then you get over and it's like, look what I got, man. Look at this.
Exactly.
Well, it's actually, I think there's cases within the case.
All right.
You got
I
a
got
big
you. You can
case.
unstack.
You
Yeah,
can take it apart.
So you're potentially going to be busy next week after the 4th of July weekend.
You
man.
know, they canceled Red, White, and Boom, which is this is nauseating to me. It's like, aren't we done with this crap yet?
Was that canceled earlier though because of when they had to get the fireworks? And they didn't know ahead of time. I just
I
wondering
don't
the
know what the
timing of it. I
story
don't
is.
know.
It was
Because that is a
If
big
they
job.
cancel that early,
I mean, yeah.
early on, I wonder if it's that get people
Sure.
in line to do it. I wonder.
Look, something
But
about it.
you're
Somebody read something out loud to me yesterday, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like, so and so is working with Ginther to do this, to do that. So they've agreed to do the show like later in the year. And as soon as I heard that, I just thought, there's a grift here. There, like somebody has done something. It's like something was amiss. I can't. I'm guessing, but I bet if I did a little bit of reading and gave it a little thought, I could come up with some angle that's less than altruistic. But you're probably right.
I wonder.
In order to schedule a
They
fireworks
probably
show,
have to get it scheduled in February.
there's probably a down
But
payment.
hasn't something run through where they changed some regulation there on personal explosions?
I did. You told me that, but I didn't check it out.
There's something going on there. I can't.
Well,
Yeah, it's going through, and I
Hmm.
think the governor signed it in. You can look it up there, but so that way, really, all it means is when you go to Phantom Fireworks, you don't have to lie about where you're going to let them off.
Oh.
Because you can buy the fireworks in Ohio, but they make you sign a thing. They're like, where are you going to be letting these go? And I always say the same thing, Branson, Missouri. Because I know you can blow anything you want up in Branson, okay? So I always say that. Now, do I shoot them off there? Maybe I do.
I get Branson on my mind when I'm shooting them off. That's yeah.
But that was just always it, because I remember people
Yeah.
like, what do you put down? Some people, I think they put somewhere Tennessee, and whoever's got the
All right. So it looks like nothing has changed.
Oh.
As Independence Day looms, says the Akron Beacon Journal, bills allowing Ohioans to set up fireworks in their neighborhoods. What did I do? I did something. Hold on. In their neighborhoods are making their way through the legislature in the latest line of attempts through the many years to legalize residential fireworks. This year, though, could be the moment those efforts come to fruition. Now, this article was written, I think, like a week ago. So maybe I'm a little bit late. They can be purchased in Ohio by consumers, but can't be set off in the state. Even though one could face a misdemeanor and a fine for violating the rule, it's rarely enforced.
Yeah.
Particularly not in like Johnstown.
I was going to say they're fireworks police.
You know, the Beard used to, he has these crazy things in his neighborhood. They used to do stuff.
Yeah, I used to see that. And he's like in a neighborhood hood,
I
you
was
know.
like, and I finally said, like, what happens when like the neighborhood's daughter gets burned, where there's a blow up and somebody loses? It's all fun and games till somebody loses a finger or an eye.
It's still
Yep.
fun and games as long as it's not my finger or eye.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, right before the deadline, Ohio lawmakers are very close to allowing cities to legalize fireworks for the 4th. Time ran out. So who knows what's going to happen here. Other aspects remain the same. Instead of letting cities opt into allowing fireworks, the current bill gives local government the ability to restrict or opt out of residential fireworks. So maybe what they're really doing is sort of sending it down local, which I couldn't agree more with all of that. Let the locals decide.
Yes.
Because guess who's going to show up for the fire that happens when it lands on a roof of a house? The local fire department.
Well, and
Yeah, I mean, it really, it's all
who-
local. If you think about where this happens, the state's not going to come in and
Yes.
And
do
who
anything.
is better to figure out the safety of fireworks in a community than the community itself?
correct.
It's like what's safe in your home, Jared? Let's call Biden and ask him, because the federal
Should I
government
run with
controls
scissors?
everything. Let's make it a law. Like this is the
No
nonsense.
running with scissors law.
Yeah, that's a law now.
Yeah,
You're
we
not
saw
allowed
you
to-
running with those scissors. I have to bring you downtown.
And it's always everybody thinks that if you just pass a law, we're good to go. Good to go. Pass a law. Then it's going to stop it for sure. It's like, no. Most things that you think should be against the law are already against the law. You don't need a special law named after somebody in order to make it more against the law. Just saying.
Damn.
When I lived at Table Rock Lake, right outside of Branson,
Yeah.
Missouri there, Me and my brother used to get the bottle rockets. We had these cap guns that were really long, like long Kentucky rifles, but they were just cap guns. But if you put the bottle rocket in it, and we would light them.
Oh, I like
you know
that
what I mean?
idea.
And
Yeah,
then we would turn.
Yeah.
And
I think
we'd
we
have
talked about this
duels.
last year, maybe.
Probably. I would probably talk about our 4th of July one. Me and my brother used to have duels, shooting at each other, Roman candle fights.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah. Here we go.
Blowing up a whole brick of Black Cats and throwing it at your friend.
Yeah, that's fun.
A-
But
a
you're allowed to
sleepy-
have Black Cats. I mean, these are the ones you could have, like the Black Cats, the sparklers, the bottle rocket. We're allowed to
No,
have
Black
those, right?
Cats. Pow. No, you're not. You're not supposed to even have those. I don't think.
Oh, what are the one? Oh, I'm thinking of the snakes.
Yeah, snakes. You can have snakes.
Like
Black Cats are little firecrackers.
Okay.
We had
And
lady
hold up,
fingers or
And hold up both your hands. You still got all 10 digits, don't you?
Safety third.
yeah, see, like 2.5.
Yeah.
So this is another one, Toledo. You can buy fireworks. So it's sort of the same. I don't know. There's some proposed law. It hasn't passed yet. So I can't tell you one way or another whether you should be shooting off fireworks in your neighborhood. If you're listening to this, you get no advice on that one issue.
Hmm.
And I've never been into it. I mean, there's a few times I've been into it, but I get bored with it. It seems like it's a lot of work and a lot of money, and it's over pretty quickly.
It is over pretty quick.
Yes. That's
Now,
true.
shoot them at each other. That's a whole different story. That's fun.
Yes, that's the good time.
That's
right
like
there.
that's not like just like
You're putting
Yeah.
you're putting sport into it now. Right?
Yes.
and for the same reason, I've never been into like people ask me all the time to go like to the shooting range for pistols or something, and you know I'm not shy that I do believe in your right to do that, but just I'm good for like one clip, and then I'm like, all right, now what?
Oh, really? Not me.
Yeah,
I used to love to go to the shooting range. I
I
used to go all the time.
just
I used to, but I mean, like sometimes I worked at the barbecue. I'd run down to Aim High, just right down the road. I'd take a break,
just
go there for like
down
an hour,
and just
shoot some rounds,
lay 'em-
go
lay
back
'em
to work.
down. See, in this day and age, it's hard to do that. It costs too much. I mean,
Oh.
ammunition's gotten out of control. So it's a little bit crazy, but just going to I guess it's fun for a little bit, and then I'm just like, yeah, all right. Then you
The
gotta-
target's not moving.
another- yeah,
It's
it's
just
like
there.
I go to true in the old rifle to maybe practice a little bit with a rifle for hunting season, but I should do more with the pistol just to get more accurate with it or more proficient with it. But
Yeah.
I recommend everybody go get classes and really get trained. There's a right way and wrong way to do it. And you're probably doing it the wrong way unless somebody's told you the right way.
Right.
That's sort of my general experience with everything. But all right, there was something else I wanted to, well, 4th of July, we done with that one?
What?
Yeah.
The judge?
The 4th of July?
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Over.
people are going to be drinking and driving, not as much as they used to. Like I was thinking after they canceled Red, White, and Boom, I was thinking, all right, how many arrests were there on 4th of July? Red, White, and Boom, probably 100 somewhere, maybe a little
Yeah.
more, maybe a little less. So they're not getting arrested. And where are they going to go? They're going to be in the neighborhoods doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, did you see, this is the only other thing, and then maybe we can wrap it up, but the California now, and apparently this is not new. They've passed some rule or a law that says they are not going to allocate any government money, even for government business, for travel to certain states like Florida, because they disagree with the position that Florida is taking on various social issues. So let that one sink in. So if you're like in the California legislature and you've got business for whatever reason, and I don't know how often that would come up, but like how much closer can you get to a cold civil war when the states are saying, you know what, we don't agree with you politically or personally on any of these issues, so we're just never going to let our people go to your state. We're not going to pay for that. Now, I mean, they're not saying you can't do it. They're saying we're not going to offer any government funds for that kind of travel. So if you're in California, you happen to have like a seminar in Florida, which I could easily see,
Sure.
like a destination spot. We're not going to sanction that. We're not going to play. Sort of kick that one around. Like, how far does that go?
Well, you got to remember they have a lot of the Republicans have a lot of conventions in
California.
in Florida.
Oh, in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. And if, let's say you're a Republican and you're in California, and that's kind of business.
Is that state business? Like I was trying to
I
figure
don't
out
know.
what is state business? Would it be like you're in I'm sure California has an enormous bureaucracy, I would think.
Yeah.
As a lawyer, we do things a lot like you would have litigation. I guess there might be an exception for litigation, like if you're sued or they got to go do it. But
That could stop a lot of economic development if you think about it. So if somebody from California wants to go to Florida to try to sway a company that's in Florida to come to California,
that
can't
would
do it
count.
now.
You can't do it.
You couldn't do it.
Now, what about businesses who do business in Florida?
But that's not government. You said it's all government funding. So
Yeah, but what's next? So let's
slippery slope you're talking here.
let's say that Coca-Cola, we're just not going to buy any Coke because they also sell Coca-Cola in Florida or Texas.
Maybe.
Where's that go?
On the reverse side, though, states' rights are states' rights.
Are they? Because those people look, and
Maybe.
let's be blunt about this, because it's not the other way around. It's not the people from the conservative states saying you can't go. We're not going to pay for travel to the liberal states.
True.
So it's
red
not
and blue.
reversed.
It's red and blue.
It's
Yeah.
not reversed. And generally speaking, as a card-carrying libertarian, I believe in federalism. I believe in states' rights. I believe in local government rule for the reasons we were just talking about. I mean, it's not anything to push an agenda. It's just that I think at local levels, we are best equipped to deal with local problems. So do they really care about states' rights? And is that why they're doing it? No. And they don't want states' rights because I heard other commentators talking about the same thing. So I'm stealing this, but it's like, they want to cram down their version of what's right on everybody else by this boycott. And it's not about respecting this other state's ability to have or these people to believe and disbelieve what they have. And then they state the position like, they're racist or they're this or they're that. And so therefore we can't do business with them. But then when you dig into it, what they're claiming is racist is really just a disagreement on something else. So anyway.
Yeah. Because I always looked at states' rights as what's the best. You're taking the stance of what's best for your state, not necessarily poking somebody else's eye.
Sure.
That's all they're doing is saying, Florida, we're not going to deal with you because we don't like what you're doing over there.
Yeah. It's a boycott.
And Florida should go, we don't give a shit.
They probably don't. What Florida should do, well, I don't want to say they should do. What happens? Well, then it's like, well, you're not going to share with me. I'm not going to share with you.
Right.
So now we've got this sort of artificial, it's like this barrier they're like two countries.
Disney could get screwed if you think about it.
Well, they got business in Florida and they got business in, I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Disney is right there. If it goes down to the business level, get away from the government, but then down to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Disney, your employee of Florida cannot come to work in California.
That's next, right? That's what's going to happen next. And
you cannot switch it around.
I'm sorry. If you do business in Florida, you can't work here. You're going to have to give me your California card.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
but sometimes it's just them throwing something out there. What if they went through the budget and they were like this? Yeah, we only spent like $400 on it. You know what I mean? Nobody really travels. It doesn't hurt.
You're right.
But we're going to go out there and we're going to say that just so you guys know. No Florida trips.
But there's like 15 states. It's not just Florida.
There's a handful.
There's more.
All blue or all red, I should say.
Red.
I think North Dakota was one of them too.
Texas, North Dakota.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sure
you've got
the $400 budget is North Dakota. Come on.
And maybe even scarier on the other side, you've got I don't know, it's scary for reasons I'll get to, but it's like now you've got the Dakotas sending their National Guard to help guard the border in Texas. You got Florida committing to guard, Missouri, I think, was part of that. And so you've got like we're drawing up sides. We're drawing up sides in this country again for the first time since 18 whatever, leading up to the Civil War. We're drawing up sides. Like states are starting to ally with each other against the other ideologies.
And then when we start doing people against people. Let's say there's a national disaster in Florida somewhere, and you got somebody in California that does want to go down and help. Government's not going to allow them to help.
Not going to allow them.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah, think about that, Brad. You're right.
Vice versa.
Correct. Vice versa.
Or vice versa, because California took that stance against Florida. Florida people, or Florida's not going to allow their FEMA people or whatever to go to California and say, no, you're not going to help them.
You don't get it if you don't give it.
They didn't come here for our hurricane, so we aren't going over there for the earthquake.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
sick.
And even if it is just because we're just going to say this is going to look good for all our constituents, because we only really spent a couple thousand anyway, so no big deal. But it'll look good, except then it's going to be treated differently. You're going to, when it matters, you're not going to have it. It's like you've
in that vein, memory is long.
Yeah. No, exactly.
You're lighting a fuse,
right?
And then
wow.
Like I said, it's not going the other way yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I mean, if you start saying we're not going to do business with you on a governmental level, then you shouldn't expect them to do business with you. I mean, it's like like this is happening, it's coming, and then you've got certain other states sort of banding together to fight other policy going the other direction, and there's no effort to reconciliation here. It seems like we are on a path of a cold civil war.
And we as citizens are going to get hurt by this.
Oh,
We're the
yeah,
ones going to pay
yeah,
the price.
yeah.
We are going to pay the price.
And that's the problem, is that I think our country is awesome when everybody's free to believe and do what they want to do, but it just seems like nobody's happy with that anymore. You got to believe what I want, what I believe, no matter what. And if you don't, you're this. And these stones get thrown both ways.
Mhm.
But you know, it's scary
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Mm.
So I don't know what to think. We'll see. And how's the 4th of July? I saw like who's going to celebrate that? Remember you and I last year, we talked a little bit about this, and
It was the weirdest 4th of July ever.
it was like eerie,
Mm-hmm.
quiet. People didn't love the country. And I couldn't get my head around that. I mean, I was I was off all day. I was anxious. I just didn't like it. I didn't like that. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And part of that was the shutdown, and part of that was what was going on politically, and part of that was, just everything that had happened leading up to it. But it just, I don't know what it's going to feel like this year. I mean, we're already seeing the Olympics, that gal in the Olympics sort of turning the other shoulder to the national anthem. You've got somebody else saying, well, I think she even said the national anthem is racist because it left out, and she's wrong about all of it. But anyway, it just is, who knows? I don't know where we're going, but it's not looking good.
The national anthem is racist? I guess I missed that
There is
piece
a
of it.
third verse apparently of the national
Oh.
anthem. And the third verse talks about, I can probably pull it up,
Okay.
but the third verse talks about, it might use the word slave, but the purpose of the third verse was not as a champion, it wasn't a champion verse for slavery as it
Mhm.
existed in the United States. It was talking about the British and their boot on the colonies, and then they dropped that later, I think in World War I, when we were trying to, when we were fighting next to the British, right? So that was
Yeah.
there's the third verse. We should probably pull that up.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I don't know if you know the history of our national anthem. It's a drinking song. I think if people really dig into what this song is and how long we fought it and when it actually turned into our national anthem, wasn't until the last century. So yeah, I can imagine that the third verse, which who knows the third verse? Not I.
Francis Scott Key.
You know, the history and the story behind the national anthem is really intriguing. I forget what podcast I caught that on. It is wild.
All right,
Of the fight back, pushback, didn't want this song because it was, because it had the history of it being a British drinking song.
So
sang
here
in
it is.
saloons.
Yeah.
Tune, the music of
The
it.
music, yeah,
the
the
music
tune.
of it. Yeah.
So here it
Amazing.
is. All these sources are saying, no, it's racist. Lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner are racist, and they're wrong. They're just flat out freaking wrong. And this is getting, they're just wrong. And it wasn't that. It has to do with the British. It wasn't a champion of slavery, but they're just pushing that narrative. And now that's why you can justify not participating in it. And it just is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just is. It's a rewriting of history that's just not correct, and it's upsetting. And anybody who would say, I think, look at the national anthem, look at the 4th of July. When I celebrate the 4th of July or stand for the national anthem, I'm not saying, man, I'm really glad we had slavery. That was an awesome part of our history. Boy, I wish we could go back to those days, because it's awesome to
Right.
enslave an entire population of people and treat them horribly, and then act like they're less than real citizens and real people. I mean, I think I stand for the national anthem because we don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. The celebration of our birthday, that we're able to sit around a table and talk about this and not have to worry about the thought police coming in.
Yet. Right.
It's a celebration that we signed a document.
Yes.
We're not free yet. This is whenever we
That's
said,
true. It started.
you know
they were
what?
signing. They were
Like you said,
signing.
lit the fuse.
this is it. We
We
lit the fuse.
fuse.
This
Right.
is where that's the whole fireworks.
They were
right
signing
there.
their death warrant by
Yes.
signing that document.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have this conversation all the time, and it's people don't always like it, but imagine what happens if we don't sign that document. if we just keep on going, keep on keeping on as a British colony, what happens to slavery then?
It'd still be here.
Oh, yeah,
or
bro.
at least for a long, longer time.
You bet.
And anybody who's read the dialogues and the papers and the conversations, like the real sources about the founders and slavery, they were totally, completely imperfect about it. They were inconsistent about it. They might have even been hypocritical about it, particularly Jefferson, who owns, they own slaves,
Sure.
but they also recognize that we got to get rid of it. Sooner or later, this is going to be a problem that we've got to get rid of. And there's dialogue between, I think it was Jefferson and Adams later, like well after, looking back as old men. And, you know, and he said, I just regret that we had to kick this evil can down the road for the next generation to deal with. They couldn't get rid of it. And if they would have tried to get rid of it at the time, then we wouldn't have a country. And so there was like this, like it was that big of a divide.
There'd be two countries
I
here.
mean,
There'd be two of
It wouldn't
North
have
and
ever
South.
happened. The Constitution
Yeah,
wouldn't have been ratified.
Right.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been like the Articles of Confederation would have been it, and that didn't work. Constitution would have been ratified. We would not have had a country the way it exists, and slavery would have lasted a lot longer. It just would have.
I mean, after World War II, the French were still colonizing Vietnam.
Yeah.
They were enslaving people in Vietnam.
There's still slavery
today. They
right?
came
That's
to us and asked for help. We let them go.
So
Turned
I guess
them down.
to the extent that anybody would say about anybody here, that if we like the national anthem, it's because we promote slavery, you're full of crap. I think it's the absolute opposite to me. I stand proud to say we imperfectly formed a nation and did what was right, and we still try to do what's right. And that means everybody has individual freedom, not collective responsibilities of some sort of bigger utopian communist society. No, this is a country with individual freedom, and it's the freest country that's ever existed on the planet. It just is. Anybody who disagrees, come to the table. I'd love to talk to you about it. But like I've talked to so many people around the world, and it just is, they're flabbergasted by the freedom that we have.
Right.
Just absolutely flabbergasted. And I've had when I was working I tried a big Russian case. I probably told the story 100 times, but man, this guy was he was this big Ukrainian Russian, you know, and he had businesses here, and he just says, this country is awesome. You do whatever you want to do. And he didn't mean go commit crimes.
No.
He meant, I come to this country, I start a business, and I'm successful, and nobody stopped me. And he came from a place where they stopped him.
Mhm.
He lived it.
Yeah.
We have a country of people are in droves wanting to come here.
Yep.
What other country in the world has that?
Yep. And to the extent that there are racist people, well, the solution is not to legislate that they're not allowed to think and be racist. The solution is to go talk to them and try to figure out what is
Why?
wrong,
Why?
and what's going on, and what do you believe, and why do you believe it? And then let's work through that, because you can have a federal government that says you're not allowed to be racist, Jared Blinsky. And you know what you're going to say? You won't even hear it. You don't even matter. You can think whatever you want. You can't stop people from thinking, and they're going to still think, and you're going to drive it underground. Instead, let's open it up, educate people, have free speech, enjoy the different cultures in our society, because it is unique in the world. And that's what this weekend, to me anyway, is all about. That's how I look at it.
Great.
I think that, so happy 4th of July. I don't think any plans. My son's marching in the parade for the band.
So we've got 6 shows at the Funny Bone.
6 shows
Yeah,
at the
there you
Funny
go.
Bone.
And so
And
that ends on the 3rd, and then the 4th of July will be after a long weekend. I'm probably gonna got my old smoker out. I showed you pictures of that. My
Oh,
brother's
yeah.
moving, so I had to get it out of the barn there. I've got my old school beginning of it all there for the restaurant when I just had my catering company. So I'm gonna fire that up. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna cook. Probably
Yeah.
multiple stuff.
I got a shoulder in the fridge right now. I got, I told you I had my hands on a big brisket, and I was like, I can't cook it. First time I know how to cook it, I was going to call you. Secondly, I didn't feel like taking the time.
I'm going to simplistically do a bunch of Bahama Mamas.
Oh man, I love Bahama Mamas.
Just gonna.
do you buy them? Do you go to Schmitz and buy them from there?
I actually got it at Giant Eagle, but I
Here's the
need to.
deal.
I need to
They're
go.
different.
They are. I need to
They're-
go
and
there
that
and get
upsets
some.
me. Back in the day,
They
they looked
are.
like kielbasa ones they
Mhm.
sold in the store.
Yeah.
And they were the same as what you get at Schmitz.
Yeah,
Because I still buy those Bahama Mamas too. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. They're
yeah.
not bad. They're
Yeah.
good.
not the same though.
But they're
It's
not
the
they're
same.
not the same as the kielbasa Bahama Mamas
No.
that you get right down the road
know,
here.
I
Oh my
know,
God.
I know.
I
Yeah,
love
stuff.
that's good stuff. Yeah, exactly. It is.
All right. Well, this has been another riveting, fact-filled, law-filled, nonsense-filled edition of Lawyer Talk. We had we kicked around the blitz, we kicked around some legal stuff. We even got a little patriotic there at the end. A couple things. Those of you who have not signed up to contribute, along with other thousands of people, to our $1 a day or $1 a month Patreon, it's easy. Just go to Channel 511, go to Lawyer Talk Podcast. You'll find a way to do it. You should subscribe now so you can catch us when we are live. You can submit commentary. You can ask questions. You can also email us at lawyertalkpodcast.com. Send us an email. I'll get it. We'll answer it right here on the air. We did one today. If you want to catch Banks and crew at the Funny Bone this weekend, tickets are selling out and they've almost all sold out. You can still see Thursday. If not, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, next week after after all the awesomeness occurs, and you'll just get to hear about it. So don't get left out on that one. Still tickets left on Thursday, but they are going like hotcakes. We got Brett here at Circle 270 Media doing podcasts for folks, and I think that's sort of taken off again. People coming into the studio again. Stuff is happening. You want your podcast? You think you can do it? You got the chops to sit at the table? Give us a shout. We'll bring you. We'll just start as a guest. You can sit here. Why? Because I don't care what we talk about. What do I care?
Let's get you going.
Yeah, come on in.
Let's do it.
So anyway, this has been Lawyer Talk off the record, on the air, at least, and live on the air, I should say, at least until now.